right, hit me with it, sweet boy. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the In the Round podcast. It's your boy, Matt Burrell. Shout out to Sweet Boy behind the camera. And we are in the sweet digs of the DM Monday studio. Shout out to Trey Lewis, Trey Bonner, the whole crew, letting us come on in here and do In the Round. Make sure you guys check out the DM Monday podcast as well. Today on episode 91, we have got our boy, Mr. Murphy Elmore. Murphy, Alabama native, been here in town for a while. You all may know his hit song, Whoever Broke Your Heart, and he's got a brand new one coming out called Talk You Into Staying that we're going to be talking about on today's episode. Great conversation with our boy Murphy Elmore. Biggest biceps in Nashville, I think. I don't even know how he fit into that damn t-shirt. But anyway, tell you about our sponsors, Whaletale Media, Wales, Beezy, Gracie, the crew. He's so freaking busy because he's so good at what he fucking does. He was working even at our round the other night on his laptop. I think he got 2 or 3 music videos done during the round, which is unheard of and crazy. If you want him working on your shit too, keep the man busy. Hit up Whaletale Media. Next, we got our friends at Saxman Studios, Grady and the boys. They are badass. They kill it. They're out Mount Juliet. Great product for a very reasonable, great price. Hit up Saxman Studios and check them out. And then last but certainly not least, our friend Mitch Wallace at The Digital Marketing Agency. You use TikTok, you use Instagram. Check out our boy Mitch. He's got it. He's even got cool t-shirts now with a bear on it. So y'all be sure to check them out. We're going to get into it now. Episode 91, talking with Murphy Elmore. His new single, Talk You Into Staying. This is the In the Round podcast. So what are you drinking there, bud?
I'm sipping on a little bit of Jack Daniels and Sprite.
And Sprite?
Yeah.
I haven't heard of people mixing Sprite with Jack. Is that an Alabama thing or what?
It's honestly not as good as Jack Daniels and Coke.
So why are we settling for Sprite? Is that all they had?
Teeth.
What?
Teeth.
Teeth?
Yeah, I don't drink dark liquids.
What if you don't drink dark liquids?
I don't drink dark liquids.
Is that why your teeth are so white?
Well, the front these are so white because they're fake.
They're fake?
Yeah.
What the fuck you doing with fake teeth?
I got a bowling ball landed on my face when I was probably 12 or 13.
How the hell does that happen?
Man, with my luck, honestly, shit just happened.
No, you got to tell the story.
Well, so, all right, man, youth trip, bowling.
Youth trip, so it's like church?
So church function.
Church function.
Yeah, church function, and thankfully, much like I am as an adult, I was thinking, I'm going to be funny, and it's mostly just funny to me, but as long as I'm laughing at the end of the day, I guess that's what matters. But we had just got there to this bowling alley, and I think maybe Pelham, Alabama, I don't know, it was somewhere around there. And ironically enough, my dad built the bowling alley, but here and we're there. We just got there, and somebody in the group before us had spilled a drink, and they didn't clean it up. And I picked up, thankfully, thinking I was going to be funny. There was like this little pink bowling ball, and it was like the smallest one you could get, And thankfully, I picked that one up instead of, which I was at a young age. It wasn't like I was going to be bowling with. I don't know much about bowling, PTSD issues now, but it's not like I was going to be grabbing the biggest ball, anyways. But yeah, man, I went, you're wearing the bowling shoes and all that. And I went to go bowl, and my feet found the puddle. And so my feet go out from under me, bowling ball goes up, head hits the ground, gravity does its thing, bowling ball comes down right in the grill.
Fuck.
Yeah, so they actually had to do surgery to cut my teeth because they came through my lip and then they broke off on the way back, and they couldn't find my teeth. Like they weren't just like disintegrated; they were broke off, But nobody could find my teeth, which I don't know why they were looking for them. Like they were going to glue them back in there.
Yeah, I mean, hey, this is Pelham, Alabama.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure that might have been the first time I got semi-knocked, unconscious. So It's not like I was really coherent, and but I do remember them looking around for my teeth for whatever reason, and we never found them. But then when I went to the oral surgeon or whatever, they were like, "Well, good news, we found his teeth. Bad news, we have to do surgery to cut them out because they came through my lip, then broke, and they were still in there. So
Jeez.
they had to go in and cut those out." But my favorite part of that was, once again, it's a youth function, like a church youth function, and we're in the bathroom, and obviously I'm bleeding like crazy. Like there's, it's not a good situation, and I'm just coming to terms with exactly what happened. And the most Alabama guy, and I say that being from Alabama, and I love Alabama, but when people think Alabama, it was this guy that came up, and I'm sitting there at the sink, like trying to get some of the blood off my face. And one of the guy that was like the youth pastor was there trying to help me. And this guy comes up, he's like, "Man, did you get your ass whooped or what? Like, what'd you do to piss somebody off?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, okay." I did get my ass by a bowling ball. It was
Was it the little
not
pink
great.
one?
Yeah, it was a little pink one.
Well, I'm glad it was the little pink
I
one
know,
and not one of the big heavy ones. 'Cause
Exactly.
then you might have been more than your teeth.
That's a silver. Yeah, and they had like, and it kind of sucks because I didn't like. This is what my teeth would have looked like, regardless of the bowling ball incident. But I would have never had to have braces, which would have been awesome. And I didn't have to have braces, but they did have to wire my stuff.
So did they come out like dentures or no?
No, they're veneer. There was enough of the teeth left, like the, actual teeth. So they're veneers, like this the top row, not the whole row, but the top row that you can see. But so I don't drink dark liquid because these don't stain right here, right? So if I'm drinking dark liquids and the rest of my teeth start to stain over time, if all your teeth look alike, nobody notices.
Yeah.
But if I go to smile and my teeth are stained on the the ones that aren't, I got a two-tone mouth,
Two-tone mouth.
Yeah, I got a two-tone mouth like an old cat-eye Chevy just out here, and it I'm told it doesn't bode well. I feel like people would be like, "Oh, I know where that guy's from,"
Yeah. Now, where in Alabama are you actually from?
I'm from, I call it Oak Grove, and that's where the school area is. But if you look up Oak Grove, it's not there because there is an Oak Grove, Alabama. But I grew up in, my address was Mulga, Alabama.
Which is closest to what?
Like Bessemer, Alabama.
Which is like Birmingham area.
Yeah, Birmingham.
So right in the
area.
dead center.
Kind of, sort of. I grew up probably about 45 minutes out of Birmingham, maybe an hour.
Towards Georgia, towards Mississippi?
No, kind of like
south?
if you'd go towards Tuscaloosa, and then before you're probably an hour and some change before you get towards Tuscaloosa, you go off into the middle of nowhere. Okay. And then, but we were real proud. We had a stop sign on one side where Red Top was, and then at the other end we had an intersection at off of a road called 269, and that one had a caution light. So
big time.
We were doing it big down there, and yeah, I mean that's just kind of where I grew up, and honestly, I loved it, and I don't think I realized how much I loved it until I moved away, and then like for instance, even coming here, I was like, okay, I better leave an hour early, even though it's not that far, because you never know. Like I stopped 2 miles, mile and a half, 2 miles away from my house earlier to get diesel, and from there to get back home, it took me 35 minutes.
How much is it costing you to fill up your truck right now?
Man, thankfully today I wasn't on E. But last time I tried to fill up, the pump just shut off at $90. It didn't even let me fill up. It just gas station I was at just had I guess they had a limit. So $90 was all you can get. So I had maybe,
So what?
I had
like
a little over half a tank from 90, but I had diesel in it. Like I wasn't on E, but I was just like, you know what, I might as well go ahead and.
So is it how much you think on E? Like $150 to fill up your truck right now? 200?
Probably anywhere from 150 to 160. I don't know. I put 120 in it today, and so that was about 3/4 of a tank, 120.
Sheesh. Makes me feel good driving my Tacoma because that diesel's expensive.
Makes me think, you know what, a Prius is pretty reasonable.
Yeah, all them electric cars and all that shit. So how long after the bowling ball incident did you start singing? So you're 12 when that shit happened.
Yeah, it was probably about 3 years. I honestly, I started, I mean, I was singing my whole life, but there's a catch to that because it wasn't like I was singing my whole life for anybody else to hear. I think my mom was the only one that knew that.
So you weren't like a singing in church guy, like
I became one, not thanks to me. Actually, my mom kind of made that happen as well. Long story short, the youth group band at the church that I spent most of my life in, which wasn't the church I knocked my teeth out at, but a different church. But the youth group band was like, "Hey,
did you guys move to a different church after?"
No, it wasn't like that. No, it wasn't like that. No, man, it just seemed to shake out that way. But my mom grew up in this church that I learned, that I started actually singing and playing guitar in, but. I didn't start. I started playing guitar first, and there was maybe at the time like 15, 20 people in their tops that I'd known since Sunday school days, like itty bitty, and the youth pastor who actually called me yesterday, but Mike Stevens. At church one night was Wednesday night service was like, hey, does anybody in here play guitar? And I started learning to play guitar that year actually, and fell in love with it. But I didn't want anybody to know about it because I'm a super shy person, and to this day I can be really shy, and it comes across wrong to a lot of people. Yeah. But I'm an awkward. I can be an awkward person. Now, when it comes to what I do and, stuff like that, there's like a switch, if that makes sense. And it just, all that stuff kind of dissipates a little bit. But I can be awkward. And so I didn't say a word. I didn't want anybody to know. My mom snitched because apparently at what we called big church, which was like where the adults, were at church, they asked the same announcement for somebody that could play guitar and do it like for the youth group on Wednesday nights. And my mom went up and snitched on me after the service, I guess, because I got a call from the youth pastor and he was like, "So I hear you can play guitar. Do you want to start playing on Wednesday nights?" And honestly, it was the best thing ever because I didn't want to do it. But I didn't want to do it not because I didn't want to play guitar, but because I was that shy of a person.
Yeah, you don't want to
how am I going to get up in front of people and do something, But I wasn't going to say no either because, it's like small town church and everything like that. And I was like, I've got to do it. And I remember I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I'll never forget like the first Wednesday night service that I played. And that's all I had to do. I didn't have to sing. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to sit and strum my guitar while the other guy sang and played keys.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever been more nervous to date of my entire life in any situation. Really? I think that's the most nervous I've ever been.
Singing songs about the Lord.
And I wasn't singing. All I had to do, mind you, was playing songs about the Lord. Yeah. And And don't get me wrong, like it wasn't about the songs I was playing or anything like that. It was just like I've got to get up in front of people. And these are also people that I've known since Sunday school days.
Yeah.
Like I was a kid, and on one side it sounds kind of ridiculous, but I remember, we got up there and did it, and it was probably like 3 songs, honestly, but it felt like an eternity. But I actually was like, you know what, that wasn't that bad. I actually kind of enjoyed that. And I was every Wednesday night we were doing it, and I started enjoying it and like getting comfortable to where it wasn't the like sickening to a point, like, because when you get nervous, at least for me, even when I would get nervous, it would be pre-show.
Yeah,
like at the time I say show in a quote, but it would be like before anything happened. Once I got up there, I was like, this is kind of awesome. I loved it. I love music. I've loved music my whole life. And it's cool to be a part of it.
You were a big butt rock guy, weren't you?
A big what?
Butt rock.
I don't.
Nickelback, Creed,
absolutely.
Like Hinder, like shit, like Saliva, like people 100% like that.
100% to this day. Yeah, absolutely.
So I was gonna say, because like you talk about loving music. You're how old? I think you and I are about the same age.
I'm 29.
Okay, so you're a little bit older than me. So I'm 27. But like growing up when we grew up, and obviously we have very different upbringings. You're from small town where you're talking about you're happy you have a caution light in there, and you're playing small town. Like we didn't go to church on Wednesdays where I'm from. It's different, but still that same era of music coming up. Obviously, you have more country down here, but the 2000s were really cool because everything was mainstream.
Yeah,
like you had your butt rock, you had your hip hop stuff, you had your country stuff, the worship stuff, all that.
When my dad, so my parents listened to all of that, by the way.
Really?
What
was the weirdest thing you remember your parents playing where you're like, I can't believe my mom and dad listen to this?
I can go further than just what the weirdest thing. I was scarred for life. Nelly was, the biggest thing at the time. And we're on the boat, Smith Lake, Alabama. We had a Bayliner Capri. We had a spot for maybe 6 or 7 years at a campground. We were, a camper. And, but the boat had a speaker system in it. Oh. And my dad dancing on a Bayliner Capri. My dad's like my height. And he does not care about, he has no awkwardness that I have or shyness to him whatsoever.
We call that a give a fuck meter. That's what I call it.
Yeah, and he has none of it.
Yeah.
Like not one at all. Which kind of makes him a total liability sometimes. But I'll never forget. Like there's these rock, people go jump off these cliffs and we would go. But when you get there to go jump, there'd be tons of boats and everybody, just hanging out, having a good time. And I was young, really young, and a Nelly song would come on, and nobody else is doing it, but my dad's somehow in the brightest color.
It's getting hot in here,
and he's
so
just
take off all
like,
your clothes.
And if you've ever seen the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, it's like Carlton.
No!
But he goes in, like he goes hard, and it kind of scarred. Man, that kind of scarred me for life. I still, think about that. But it would be like my parents had the Creed CD. Home and now that one, whole thing.
Because I hear that in your music. Like I hear that rock kind of influence.
I love rock
in your stuff.
I grew up on everything though, man. And I think honestly, outside of the life that I grew up in and the world that I grew up in, being as country as it was, Keith Whitley was, I would say, my biggest country influence. And thankfully, I think it might have been the best thing that ever happened. But when my granddaddy had passed, he had left my dad a farm truck or a truck. And we called it the farm truck because that was what we'd take to the farm. But it was basically like a tank. It was like one of the old F-100s or F-1, but it was like steel, And my dad had put like a stereo system in it, not like the speakers and everything, but just something, because it didn't have CD play. Those didn't have CD players back in those days. But he put a CD player in it, and maybe they wired it wrong. I don't know, or maybe we just didn't have other CDs. But from my memory, if memory serves right, the Keith Whitley Greatest Hits album got stuck in there, or maybe, like I said, we just didn't have another CD. But so every time we'd go to the farm, go hunting, or anything like that, it was just Keith Whitley. But I loved it. Like, I loved everything Keith Whitley.
And it brings
did,
you back to that place, that nostalgic moment of riding around in the farm truck.
Absolutely.
And it just so happened that was what you had.
Right. But so for me, that's always going to be when people are like, who's the GOAT? Who's the GOAT to you? Who's your favorite of all time? And it's Keith Whitley, like hands down.
So you're talking about your dad being a liability. And
Total liability on the road.
This is where I want to get into our buddy here. So, sweet boy. Behind the camera over there.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously him and I have gotten to know each other a lot over the last, I guess, it'll be coming up on 2 years in the winter. I couldn't have told you who he was, like any of that stuff, but of course now us both working with another Alabama guy, Trey.
Right.
How did you first meet Sweet Boy, and what did he do to let you have him at your house? Because that's a lot to house.
Well, there's two different, because I didn't find this out 2 years later, but to get hired, because he was my drummer for a spell.
Yeah, how'd you find him? Like, how do you find this guy out of Selma, Alabama?
Man, just Birmingham. Playing shows in Birmingham and word of mouth.
At what venues? Like, what was the Birmingham?
I think I was at Zydeco, and I'd played a show, and somebody recommended him as a drummer, and I want to say that's about how it happened. You'll have to. Michael Warren. Yeah, Michael Warren. That was it. Michael Warren, a buddy of ours who lives here now as well in Nashville. He's awesome. But he had recommended him, and so I texted him, and he lied, because I was like, hey man, are you good with like tracks and everything like that? And he was like, yeah man, for sure. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna give you a shot, And but I'll give him credit too. I didn't find out years later, because even though he knew nothing about him, he made sure before he even showed up for the first rehearsal that he had figured it out, and he's just good people, man. Like, honestly, he's a solid dude, and I told him years ago, I was like, man, you need to be in this town, though.
Yeah, there's only so much. But the thing is, the Alabama scene is, in my opinion, and again, I could be biased based on who's been paying my checks the last few years, but the Alabama music scene is unlike any other music scene as far as a local state goes. There's so many places to play. There's so many people coming out of there. Like, I'm from New York, where we got 9.5 million people on a fucking island in New York City, and there's music and stuff going on there. But it's just the support system that's in Alabama, the opportunities to play, and the college kids loving live music as opposed to a DJ. Like, I can see why there are a lot of guys and girls that stick it out down there and are hesitant to come up, because they're like, oh, if I got to go to Nashville, it's 3-4 hours up 65.
Right.
So I get and same thing with the Georgia boys, same thing with the Mississippi guys and girls. Mm-hmm. Like, it's being in the Southeast, you're still not too far away, but you guys have such like a flourishing scene down there, and you're part of that story of what came up between the years of 2014 and I guess now. Like, you're part of that wave that was coming through at that time.
Yeah.
What was that? What were those years like coming up?
Well, man, I'll tell you, to be honest with you. So I didn't have the Alabama scene like the way that most people did before I got to town.
What were you doing for gigs?
I was playing just like dive bars on the river or
Lakeview.
No, that sounds fancy.
I'm saying like that section of
no, it was the Warrior River. So I was playing
TP Miller's.
I never played TP Miller's, but
okay, then you didn't go to the biggest shitholes out there. Then
I've been.
Have been.
I went to support. Yeah, these dudes. Okay. Yeah, I think I've been to 2 of their shows out there. at some point or another, and
you got to name
and
some
thank
of the
God I
bars,
did,
though.
because I think I was the only one at one of those shows.
Well, you got to name some of the places you were playing if they're still in
Riverbend. I
existence.
played like this place called Riverbend. It was on the river, and we played on a barge float. Like it was like, and it's on the river, but the stage wasn't on the decking or in.
So how'd you get the gear there? What, you put it in a boat and then you
Well, there
unload it
wasn't
onto the
much
barge?
gear. It was me, an acoustic guitar, and then another guy playing acoustic guitar, and they didn't even put my name on there.
Acoustic duo.
Yeah, it was an
on a
acoustic
float.
duo, and they didn't even like. I say I wrote the songs. I had like 3 or 4 songs written, and we'd play for 3 or 4 hours. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
So it was mostly covers and stuff, but it was kind of funny because I remember one time they printed up a flyer and my name wasn't even on. It was like they were like Austin Freeman Band live, and he just played guitar.
Yeah.
So that's where we started, and then some, like through a long strain of crazy events. A song that we had put out recently got to somebody's ears who was pretty influential in Nashville, and for some reason they took an interest to it, and thankfully they did. But yeah, it was, at the time it was just, and it's something I still love, but at the time that's all it was. It's just like, oh, I just love music. I enjoy this.
So were you making a living doing it, or like
Oh
was it
no,
just something you were doing on the
no.
weekends?
I wasn't doing it for work at the time.
So what were you doing
Like,
for work?
construction.
Oh, you were a
basically.
construction guy.
I mean,
that makes total sense.
through like when I was in college at Alabama, I went to Alabama. I didn't graduate.
There's a lot of musicians that go to, I'm learning in this scene, that go to school at these universities in the state of Alabama that don't end up graduating but make it out all right doing the music thing. Like I think about you being there. Trey didn't even technically go there, but he lived in Tuscaloosa. Charlie going to Auburn, and he dropped out, and that's worked out well. I don't know if Riley fully made it through Jacksonville State.
I'm not really sure,
Because I know he was there for a little bit, but there's...
Well, that's the key to it then, guys. If you're wanting to do the music industry, go to college and then quit.
Yeah, go to college,
drop out, and move to Nashville.
But while you're there, get the gigs and then make your money playing the gigs.
See, I didn't. I wasn't.
Well, you weren't even doing music at that point. So
no,
what was your major?
No, I was going for business and thinking about doing kinesiology because I was super into. So that's like
kinesiology?
Exercise science.
Makes total sense.
But
he's a fitness trainer, by the way. Ask our boy Trey Bonner. He will get you swole.
well, yeah. That was one of my jobs in college. I'd gotten certified to be a personal trainer while I was still in high school, around those ages, and so when I went to college, I got to get a job. So I didn't actually get, or I shouldn't say get, because that's probably wrong. But I didn't do the normal college thought. Like I was working 2 jobs. I was personal, like I got a job at a gym as a personal trainer. In between classes during the day, I was at the gym, doing that. And then at nights, I worked at a bar on the Strip that used to be called Rounders. I haven't been back.
I think the Rounders is still there.
Okay, is it still Rounders? But
yeah,
I was security at Rounders for a while. So, but there was no thought of me. Like I still loved music. And
were you writing songs at that point, or like
no? I wasn't writing
music.
I wasn't writing. I'd written songs before when I'd started playing in church and stuff, and that went from, hey, does anybody play guitar? Then the guy that sang and played keys left, and my mom snitched on me again, and I felt like I couldn't say no. But then, once again, being nervous and then going through with it and falling in love with the performing side of music. I
thought you were going to say Preacher's Daughter, and I was like, damn, you and McElwain got a lot in common.
Well, McElwain's not culling much, so I don't know. I don't know. No, but I fell in love with that side of it through church, and I started writing songs. I think the first song I ever wrote was a praise and worship song, and and it ended up being, it's still a song that means a lot to me, to this day.
Did you ever think about going that route?
Yes and no. Honestly, no. I mean, there was brief times where I thought, like, because I was a big fan of, when you start doing any kind of music, or whether you're playing in church or playing, wherever, you're a student of, I feel like you're a student of, the people that do it, on that next level, on the levels.
So that's like what? Because again, I'm not super familiar. Is that like Michael W. Smith and like people like that?
Yeah, like Jeremy Camps, like Chris Tomlins, stuff like that.
Because there's a big crossover with that within country music. Like if you listen to a lot
basically,
of
Hillsong United, at the time was every song, and then and you don't know where they come from. That's the weird thing about that industry, is because it could be, there'll be one song done by 9 different artists, and all of them have their own spin of it. But it's so, I never understood all that side of that world.
Yeah, because at that time is like when, because like there's videos like when FGL was in their heyday, and I remember it being a big, and I didn't know who Chris Tomlin was. I later found out he's huge in that, no pun intended, one of the gods of the worship scene music wise.
He's the Florida Georgia Line of that scene. Yeah,
he's a big deal.
No,
but like they had brought him out to sing a song or whatever. But also like when I go and listen to some of that kind of music, because again I didn't really grow up on it, you hear a lot of you hear a lot of what's transitioned and become considered like pop country, like that more kind of melodic, like a lot of what like Tenpenny does, or like what a guy like a Jordan Davis or some of those Thomas Rhett songs.
And
like,
just to stop, not to interrupt you, keep going with your thought, but Tenpenny, I'm pretty sure he could sing. It doesn't matter what he's singing.
I'm saying I'm
gonna listen. That dude is a monster.
I'm saying like sonically, just like the way the production is and all that kind of stuff. So it's cool to see like there's so many people were influenced by both country and the worship scene, because they came up in the worship scene while also living the country lifestyle and listening to folks like Keith Whitley, but also listening to that other stuff. So that's cool.
Keith Whitley, Nickelback, Nelly, Creed, all that stuff.
It all kind of flows in. So when does music become like the thing you're going to do with your life? Like when does that happen?
Just to be fully honest with you, so I wrote my first country song that I ever wrote. I was probably 15 or 16, and I say that like I'd written all these other songs. I'd written one praise and worship song that we played in at church and stuff, and country music was more natural to me.
Yeah.
It was easy, not easy in any way, but more natural, because that was my surrounding, even with the church, even including church and everything like that. It was just natural because that was my life. Like I didn't even realize, hey, I'm writing a country song. It wasn't like when I wrote the song that I was like, I want to sit down and try to write a country song.
Yeah.
It was just, that's what came out when I was writing what I was feeling or what I was going through at the time. And that's just how it came out, because it was natural. Whereas when I wrote, and it was the first song I ever wrote, but the praise and worship song, it was sat down with the mentality of like, I want to try to write a song, like I'm playing these songs on, Wednesdays and Sundays and whatnot like that. But that was not necessarily just reaction. That was a strategy. Like I want to see if I can do this.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that I did, because that's the first song that I ever wrote. And all that. But yeah, when I just sat down to write, when I just wanted to express, what I was going through at the time, it was a country song. And looking back, I'm like, well, I know why, because I know how I grew up and everything I grew up around and all that stuff. But I think the deeper you dig into that and writing and, the music you do, like those influences that you were talking about earlier, like whether it be, there's probably all kinds of different influences in what I write today. And it's not intentionally like, oh, I want this to have this sound because I liked this rock song back in the day.
No, it's subliminally
But
within your thoughts.
It's just ingrained in who you're. Just like when I sit down to write a song naturally and it comes out country, it's a country song. It's not because I sat down and go, I'm going to write a country song today. I mean, and you know, we write multiple songs a week, and some never see the light of day, some do. But it's never like, oh, what's country, and what is like, what can I put in here to sell that this is country? It's just it's just writing a song, and that's how it comes out. But there's also, as natural as that is, for me, because of, I think, where I grew up and how I grew up, and you know, the values my parents instilled, and just also how we rebelled, like, and what we did to, you know, just when we were trying to have a good time and stuff at a certain point, you know, that's just how it really is, you know. So it's just as natural, I feel like, for those influences to kind of sneak in to where it's like, oh, this is like a rock. It's not like I've ever sat down and went, I want to write a country song today, but I want it to be rock influenced, or maybe even have a hint of like an R&B or this or that vibe. It's never been intentional. It's just, I want to write the best song we can for today. Like, I want to write the best song I can today. And it comes out like that because it's just natural. And I feel like that's a really, you know, cool thing to give in, like, to give up control in that aspect, to just let you be you in an aspect.
100%. You know? So how does the song that really changed your life, how does Whoever Broke Your Heart, how does that come to be? Like, I know you're always hesitant to play at the writers' room. I always break your balls to play it when we have you in the round, and you're like, I didn't write the song. I'm like, but dude, just throw it in there, even if it's a fucking bonus song, whatever, because it's just one that it's one that's a big one, man. And you were, and even though you didn't write it, like you're that's how this town works sometimes.
Well,
so
no, but I'm weird about it mostly because but I'm weird about playing it as a writer's round, because I write my music like that. Like,
does it bother you that the biggest song's an outside cut? Like, does that rub you the wrong way? Like,
no,
what's the hesitation?
honestly, it doesn't. It makes me want to work harder as a writer. But no, funny enough, before I moved to town, when the whole prospect of me coming to town was
which is what year?
That was around 2015, late 2014, 2015.
Okay.
I moved up here, I believe, late October, early November of 2014. So it would have been around that time.
So you're what, 21 when that happens?
Yeah, 21,
22,
I think.
somewhere in there?
Somewhere in there, yeah, 21, 22, something like that. But they, I was in contact with a certain, you know, publishing company here through the guy that, you know, had basically made all this, fast forward, made everything happen as far as me getting here and all that. But they wanted to hear me sing, you know, on some of his songs, because I didn't have enough originals. It probably even have enough originals at the time. So they were like, hey, we're going to send you some of his catalog to just come put a vocal on so we can see.
Which is a common thing for a lot of folks when they come to town. Like, I remember
Trey, maybe, but I had no clue.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, people, like, they see potential. They saw something in there where, like, this kid doesn't really have, we think, like, this kid has a great voice. He might be the vessel for one of these songs, and just a good way to feel out what you got at that time, which completely different than who you are right now. 8 years ago, you're
oh, absolutely. I was so clueless, and now I'm only like, I'm still so clueless, but I'm a little less clueless than I was 8 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever. But no, so I remember hearing that song and wondering why it wasn't already a huge number one, because the guy that wrote it is a Hall of Fame writer.
I think Ashley Gorley.
Well, I mean, Rhett. So Rhett was my guy. But Rhett, I think he just got inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame like last year. That over the past year.
How'd you get synced up with him?
I ended up at a concert that I couldn't afford to be at, and he was standing in the crowd. I didn't know it at the time, but I guess somebody had bumped into him or spilled a drink on him or something, and then tried to fight him or something. So he was out in the crowd because he was trying to find this guy to get him thrown out of. It was a Brantley Gilbert show where I know Thomas Rhett was out with Brantley at the time, and I want to say maybe Justin Moore. And the
small town throwdown days.
Yeah, it might have been small town throwdown days. But I just happened to look over and it's like, I'm pretty sure that's Rhett Akins. And I went up and asked him for a picture and all that stuff. And I didn't, but what I didn't do was go, hey man, I write music too. Let me send you. I didn't do that. I'm an awkward, shy person.
You did what we call in our crew the semi-germ.
Yeah, I wanted the picture. I didn't want a full germ. I didn't even know that term existed or what it meant at the time, but I knew me being as awkward as I am, I was weird, weirding myself out enough just by asking for the picture, but he ended up, at the time there was an interest with a girl that was in the group that I was with, that they had a romantic interest for a brief time, but one of my songs came on, and she was already living up here, but one of my songs came on her playlist while they were riding around, and he stopped and was like, "Who is that?" And she was like, "Oh, that's Murphy. You met him at this show or that, whatever." And so that's kind of how all that ball started kind of rolling.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy enough. I mean,
what are the
I go
odds?
from asking for a picture with a guy to there's a phone call and hey, it's Rhett. I'm like, stop line. Who is this? Get out of here, And I'm that dude's just he's just one of those guys. He's on another level. And a lot of people probably don't know this about him. I guess a lot of people probably do, but just a good dude, man.
There's a reason that after his art, because he was doing the artist thing a long time. I know he still pops up and does some shows here and there, but there's a reason he's still, all these years later, still regarded as such a big guy here in town. Yeah, as a writer, as just a creative mind, as someone who's really put the hand out and pulled some guys up to where he's
very, at. Very respected dude, and has had his hand in a lot of people's, a hand in helping a lot of people.
Yeah. So when did Whoever Broke Your Heart become a Murphy Elmore song?
Oh yeah. So I didn't touch it for 2 or 3 years because I was like, it's not going to be fair to him. He's just done all this stuff for me. I'm not going to cut this song because somebody else is going to cut it.
Was it ever on hold with anyone that you know of, or
not that I know of? No, and it blew my mind because it's just, when I heard it, I'm like, this is exactly, I can't count the conversations I've had with girls over the past that have been done so wrong or just been treated like absolute shit or whatever the case may be that I'm looking at and going like, that dude's a fucking idiot, And so immediately when I heard the song, I was like, this is incredible. And, 3-4 years go by and it's still not, on hold or, cut by a major A-list act. And I just asked him one day, I was like, hey man, what do you think about me cutting that song? And his response was probably, knowing Rhett, was probably something along the lines of, that's cool. But
there's just a song sitting in my catalog. Nobody's shown interest.
He was probably like, yeah, man, sure. But that's Rhett speak for, dude. Absolutely, man. You just got to know, know him a little bit. But
what did you put out before that song? Because that was the McElwain. Those were the days when McElwain was playing with you, right?
Yeah. I think so. Kings of Friday Night, yeah. So that was post Kings of Friday Night, but I think you were, yeah, shortly after. Yeah, I'd put out the first single I'd ever released after moving to town. I put out a song called "Damn Good Kisser," and then I released one "One Night Stand." I think was second, and "One Night Stand" actually did decently well, I think, considering for how green I was and everything like that. And I wrote that with a girl named Rachel Farley, who's really cool, and I have a really funny story, just a full circle story about even writing with her, and then our first write ever, we wrote that song. And I think, yeah, Whoever Broke Your Heart was a follow-up from the Kings of Friday Night EP, and honestly, it was kind of wild because that was the first song I think that really took off. And I'd released that took off. And
what was it? Yeah, right when you fired.
Yeah, I said, "Hey Matt, it looks like I might be able to do this for a living, so scram."
Back to your paper route, boy.
Yeah, go back where you belong, sir. No, Matt was such a good dude, and his work ethic was so respectable. That's why he lives in my house. Is because I told him, I said, "Hey man, you need to be in town. I need you to be in town, and I know you can't be in town right now, so I'm gonna have to go a different route. But when, because I knew it wasn't an if. I knew as hard as he worked, like at his craft, being a drummer, and with his mentality, and just, I mean, he's just a good dude. Like people want to work with people like that, and I wanted to work with him, but it just, everybody else that I worked with in town was already in town.
Yeah, it's the right place, right time.
And just, I was like, but man, when you move to Nashville, if you need a place to, like, whatever, and I can help in any way, I got you. And I ended up being in a position to be able to buy a house, a few years back, maybe 4 years back or something. I started looking for my own house, and I bought a house that was honestly probably way more than I needed, because at the time everybody had been saying, "Oh, when you have your own house, we're going to come visit all the time," like, family and all that fun stuff. But turns out it's like maybe once a year. So I basically have all these, and I say all these, but I had like, 3 bedrooms that were just sitting there.
Yeah.
And around that time, just with timing and everything, Matt was like, "Hey man, I think I'm actually gonna move up to Nashville." And I think he was like, I'm thinking I'm moving up here in March. Does that offer still stand?" And I was like, "Absolutely, man. Come by the house and see if it's something you're good with, interested in, or whatever." And I think him and Terry came by, and much like every time I see Terry, I thought I was being robbed, but then I saw Matt, so I knew it was okay. And he didn't move up in March, so I was like, I guess he's not moving up. And then he just randomly, randomly, like, if I don't know, 4 or 5 months later, he was like, "Oh, I'm moving up next month." I was like, "Oh, come on, man." But yeah, I'd give him my word, but it wasn't, it was just, I believe in his work ethic and just his attitude, and they're killing it right now and stuff. So
yeah, dude.
I couldn't be more stoked. I hadn't got my bird dog fee or anything. Like, I feel like I should be getting slightly paid on back end for technically scouting McElwain out, but it's whatever. I'll take
training him up.
Yeah.
So Whoever Broke Your Heart comes out what year? 16, 17?
No, I think it was towards the end of 2017.
Towards the end of 17. And again, I bring up the whole Alabama kind of scene, like, just because that's just a common talking point
Yeah.
here, and you were there for a lot of that stuff. Like at that point, Riley's doing his thing.
Yeah, I think Riley's first like show in that I think we co-built that together. I
Yeah,
think it
and
was at
then
Zydeco
Charlie, and Charlie and Gary with Muscadine, Porch Swing Angels doing
Yeah.
its thing. You've got the Luke Combs train is going at that point. Like the modern what we see, even Wallen's got his first EP out. Like all the stuff of what we see now, like it's really getting the ball rolling. And you were around that. You were part of that. Like those early days of the Alabama scene. Like what was it like to just be in a community that was just going boom when all you guys are really getting your start?
Well, it's crazy because you don't realize you're there at the time. You know, you don't realize what you're in at the time. Really, honestly, like in that moment, you know, you're talking about days where, you know, Riley was a guy that was just off a reality TV show. You're talking about Muscadine, who had just decided to be Muscadine. Like they had just
they were
decided
Gary and
to be
Charlie for years.
Yeah, they had just decided to be a duo. I didn't know him before. I want to say I met Charlie before they were a duo, but I met him in Nashville, and I don't even know if he lived here yet. And you know, I'd been here maybe a year or so, but I met him at a writer's round or something, and you know, but those dudes, like at this time, like there's nothing really going on for anybody in this industry, so you don't really realize you're looking at, you know, I remember like back in those days, Luke Combs' car, his car didn't have heat, my car didn't have AC. So we like when we would do anything like around the, you know, go and hang out together, because there was a big group of people that kind of ran in the same crowd and stuff, and you know, you kind of try to plan it out between like, hey man, if it's hot outside, we're taking yours, and if it's cold, we'll take mine.
Yeah.
Like, so these were those days where you knew the talent was there, right? Like, I don't think anybody's ever heard Luke Combs sing and not gone.
What were the rounds at that point? Because like I know Revival was a thing.
Revival was huge.
Threesome Thursdays?
Was that it?
That was Randy McFadden's
Yeah, that was like
round.
Poorhouse, I think, or was it?
Or
What was it called?
Blue Bar,
Blue Bar.
the one across from Winners and Losers. That's now the fucking taco place.
So.
Or it might have been Poorhouse.
It was,
or it might have been Broadway Brew House.
I think the first Threesome Thursdays that I remember, and I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it was like, so there's Frugal McDougal's, right? There's a liquor store, and it's like, it might be like some kind of a chicken place or something.
Yeah, Party Foul's right there.
But it's across, like, so you got Party Foul, and then it was right across, like.
Yeah, now
right
it's Fat Cat Slims, I think.
Yeah, that was the place that I think I think, if I'm not mistaken, might have been where I met Charlie. Monka had a Threesome Thursday thing that was like a writer's round.
Yeah, and Why Not was doing.
I don't know that they
point.
were yet.
Or they weren't. Oh, that was even before that.
No, I think that was before Why Not and all that. But it was just crazy because, like you said, like at that time, you don't know that Riley's about to take but you know, you got to see how it started. Like you got to see all these things start and be in around all that. Like, you know, Muscadine was playing any and everywhere.
Well, yeah,
like,
I mean that's
they were
part,
playing. They were doing
part of their strategy, and this is like a good tip for a lot of people starting out. Even if you're just doing the coverage, like the flyers are so important, and they did such a good job of that early on of posting, "Hey, look at all these shows we're doing."
Right,
and
they were doing stuff like they were also I got to give those dudes credit. They were doing any and everything like to make it work. Like they would have a small bar gig.
Well, they
late
were
at night, but
they
would have a private. They would do a private like wedding thing.
Yeah.
Like they would do a like. You know, stuff like that, and it might not have been a wedding specifically, but they'd be doing oh, we're gonna go do this private thing, and they were just freaking burning up the road,
driving up and down in the Avalanche.
Yeah, and Trey, like, you know, Trey kind of did that similar thing. Like those y'all. I mean, what was the place called? You remember it by name? It's
TP Miller's.
Yeah, TP Miller.
TP
like they
Miller's
were playing TP Miller's to fill a date. Like they were just. That's how.
Yeah, it was
there was like, hey,
4 hour gigs a week.
Yeah, and I know for a fact one of those shows was literally me and the 3 people that came with me, and then a woman who's been around since the first Harley Davidson and has not stopped riding Harley Davidson since. And but that's what it like. Look at where they're at now. Look at where that project is right now. Look at where Muscadine Camp is right now. Like, look at where Riley is right now. Like, it's just really cool to see, because a lot of people don't get to see that. Like those people, like a lot of people don't, that are when you guys are selling out shows, like when with Trey Lewis, right? That's what they're seeing. But they didn't see the TP Miller days. But the beautiful thing about this industry is, like, 9 times out of 10, those shows are what makes the person that you see on stage, like the band, absolutely. The person. But sure. you don't realize that's what you're seeing. Like when I was sitting in the crowd at TP Miller's, and Trey was like, "Get up and sing with us. Get up and sing That Ain't My Truck. Get up and sing, something with us," and stuff like that. And I remember going like, man, I don't even know if I can breathe from this the one other lady that's chain smoking over here. Like my second hand, my lungs smoky. But like, so you don't realize how cool it is to get to be, around stuff like that and see where it goes.
Yeah, at that time, did you guys have a chip on your shoulder come from Alabama, seeing what all the Georgia guys were doing across the border?
No.
Was there a rivalry ever between the Alabama guys and the Georgia guys? Because everybody's talking Georgia this, Georgia that. You had 4-wheel drive, and I love all the guys that are a part of that. Yeah. You had like everybody talks Georgia. Yeah, Georgia. Meanwhile, you take I-20, you go across the border. There's a lot of shit happening in Alabama.
Mm-hmm. Well, there wasn't for me, especially like at all around that time, because the guy that brought me up here, Georgia guy, my best friend in town for the first, few years I lived here, Georgia guy.
Who was that?
John Langston, who, he's killing it. He was killing it at the time, and he does his thing. And the first country show, like actual, that I feel like is legit enough to call a country show that I got to be a part of, was opening for John Langston, and it was I think that was his first full band show.
Where was that at?
And that was in Tifton, Georgia.
We got to talk about Tifton.
Oh man,
we're gonna talk about
good, because I'm about to tell the world now. But it was the Gin at the time.
Yeah, but JD.
JD was running things down there, and I think that was the moment I knew that no matter what this industry throws at me, this is what I want. And so I don't think there was a chip on my shoulder from the Georgia perspective of things.
Well, I'm just saying collectively as a group, like you guys are just hearing all this stuff.
Well, but I wasn't. Like at the time, like my first bit into the music industry was when I got here. Like I don't think I'd ever co-written before till I was under a deal and moved here. And frankly, I probably didn't deserve that deal.
Who was the deal with?
It was Sony ATV at the time.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, with a co-venture with Rhett. And they took a huge chance on me because Rhett believed in me. And, but I was so clueless when I got here, so I didn't even realize, that there was this, Georgia thing or whatever. But I will give the Georgia people credit, man. They do, they lift each other up like crazy, like if you're from Georgia, you're automatically a part of that scene, and they're trying to help you. Like when one of them gets here, the guy that's here, so guy one's up here and guy two from Georgia is here. This guy's going to try to bring him up. And then if this guy passes, they just constantly, so you got to give I make jokes all the time when people are like, "Oh, I'm from Georgia." I'm like, "Oh, cool. What record deal did you sign the first day you got here?" Because it just seems like those dudes are killing it. And it's a joke I make, but I also see why. Like
Could that be a thing with an Alabama artist?
I think it should be.
Because there's a whole new crop of young folks coming up. You see,
there's so many cool dudes. Like, I've heard about like these dudes coming up. You got like this Blaine Rudd kid that's killing it, and I don't even think he lives here yet. But it seems like every time I'm talking to people, because I'm still close with people back home, from Alabama and stuff. Like some of my best friends, from day one when I was a kid, that I'm still very close with. Like they're talking about this guy, and he's from Alabama, right?
Yeah, Blaine still lives in Alabama. And what's funny is you rewind back. Blaine used to play a lot of those Skybar cover gigs.
I've never met him
with Charlie before Charlie and Gary linked up. So Blaine's been around for a while, but like I'm talking like Justin Holt, Stimmy Jimmy.
Justin. I was about to say you got Justin.
Ella Langley,
Ella's slaying it,
crushing it right now. You got Joy Beth Taylor, who's writing hit after hit right now. Mm-hmm. You've got what the Shackleford Lane boys are doing. You've got
Clay
Barker. You've got who was that dude that opened for us McElwain in Mobile? I forget exactly what his name was. There was a dude, he's big in the South Alabama. Bruce Smelly coming up out of Mobile right now. And I mean, it just seems like there's the guys and girls that have gotten up to that level. And that's what's cool about like seeing what Trey's done. Like he's brought Ella. Ella did a ton of dates with us last year. Yeah. Justin Holt did quite a few with us last year. Clay did quite a few. But there is that kind of cool community. So whoever broke your heart, excuse me.
Who broke your heart?
Lots of people broke. lots of people broke my heart.
Same, bro. Same.
But so that comes out 2017. So from what was that reaction like? Was it like initial like this song started changing things, or was it something that took a little bit? Was it something that over time continued to grow? Like
it honestly did. I'd been touring with it before it came out for probably a year. Like I knew the moment I found out, like I'm for sure, like I got the green light. I'm cutting this song. I started playing it out immediately. And so I think that helped a lot. Obviously people responded to it before it was ever out, so they were anticipating it and everything like that. And I think within maybe the first, few months, 2 to 3 months, I think it was over 1 million streams, which at the time for me was like, oh my gosh, like
and
1 million.
And you just have a publishing,
and that was just like on Spotify alone.
Yeah.
Like so that was, I don't know what the full numbers were doing on everything, but Spotify is a lot easier to read. And I don't even know if they had their own. You had an artist page at the time.
I don't think
if you did,
yeah.
I didn't have one, so I would have to go look. I'd have to Google myself or Spotify myself like a narcissist to see what it was doing. But I was just like, oh my gosh, that's insane. And then the life of that song is insane to me. It's still going. Like it's still going, and it's been how many years? Like so let's just say
it's coming
basically
up on
2018, late 17, so 18, 19, 20, 4 or 5 years, something like that.
So what did you feel a pressure for everything that came after? So did you feel like an added pressure following up?
Yeah, absolutely. I did. I felt a lot of pressure, and we had a lot of catalog even at that time, and my mentality was, okay, we gotta keep rolling off of this, and unfortunately the team that I had placed, and that's all on me, but the team that I kind of had around me at that point didn't really feel the same. And so there was like a lag period.
That's what I was going to bring up because I've noticed that. Like, it's not like you haven't put out songs. You put out Blue Lights. You put out some other songs.
And that's been like after that team thing shifted to where it was like, okay, this isn't like this strategy that I'm following on a particular person's lead is like, this just isn't working for me. And there was some other stuff that, there was just, man, I just felt like there was a time there were bridges burned. There were there was just not a lot going on when we had a lot going on that should have been.
What was that period like? Like, because
for me, it was very frustrating. But at the same time, I have nobody to blame but me. Like, and that took some growing up to. It was me thinking that the people in my corner at that time wanted the best, wanted, and I'm not saying that they didn't, but it was more so, I think they were at that time in over their head, and that's who I was looking to for direction, because that's what their role was supposed to be. And so when they would say, this is the call that we need to make, this is what we need to do, it goes back to me once again. It's all that time period before it sounds like I'm playing the blame game, because at the end of the day, the decisions, wherever they came from, landed in my lap, but I was just listening to what everybody was telling me to do. Like, so if they were saying, hey, don't release music, like, we don't need to release this song right now, we don't really need to release these songs right now,
they weren't letting you be they weren't letting you be the CEO of your own business.
Well, I shouldn't even say because once again it goes back to me, but it was me not following my gut, which I've learned is honestly as a writer, an artist, or any of those things, is a big part of, I think, so a big part of that is to just follow your gut. Like, and you're going to make mistakes along the way, but at least, looking back, I wish they would have been my mistake, like me making the mistakes, directly me, and not just being like, okay, I'm trusting that this is the right decision because somebody else is telling me this is what needs to happen. And like I said, man, there was a lag period of a super unreasonable lag period of time.
Were you touring
releases.
at this? Were you touring at this time, or like what was your show situation?
We were, and then the at the time they also, the people that were booking shows, I think that they ended up being right and a lot smarter than I was, and had kind of told me, hey, this particular part of your team, because I'm not going to say that was everybody and this and that, because at the end of the day, my worst enemy at that time was me. I didn't know it yet, but it was me because I wasn't going, hey, no, this is what my gut's telling me, this is what I think. And so they didn't want to work with a particular part of that team. One side didn't, and so we started getting a little less on the touring side of things, or less offers, and we were still touring.
At that point, were you going around the country, or was it still regionally in the Southeast?
No, we were going. I mean, it was predominantly Southeast stuff, but we were like McElwain. We went to Virginia. We went to I was up in Delaware.
Did you do any opening slots?
Yeah, those were.
Well, I'm saying like going on tour with, like, going on, like, did you ever go out on a tour?
No, we didn't do. So we didn't get. It kind of everything kind of blew up before those were, like, there was a tour, but we had really good. Like, we had some really good
like that.
Opening slots, and some of them were last minute things. Like, I think I got called for one, it might have been like a Tuesday, and they're like, hey, we need you at this date in Virginia on Friday. And so there's, like, scrambling to make sure everything's good to go for that, and yeah, and I had rehired him. I was like, hey, I need you back. McElwain, I know I fired you. No, I hate that word when you use it. I have had
Y'all parted ways, then you got back here, and now he's your landlord and babysitter when I'm not with you.
Exactly. I've had to fire people. I don't like to say that when it comes to McElwain. I had to part ways at the time because because moments like that where there would be show like, hey, we need this last minute. Well, we got to run a rehearsal. We have to, there's a lot of things that go into shows, as you guys know.
Yeah.
And not that I got to give him credit. He always found a way to make it work. But at the time, it was like just a little too hectic when, because how far is Selma?
It's far enough.
Okay,
far enough.
So everybody but one guy has to drive. Like, everybody's driving 15, 20 minutes tops to rehearse, but then we got this guy just having to drive, 5+ hours.
I totally get that. So where's your head at now? Because you're getting ready to put out the new song that's dropping here soon. Like, you're writing your ass off. Like, you're working. Like, I feel like, and again, I've just gotten to meet you I've really gotten to know you over the last 6-7 months, but gotten to know you, very, very familiar with you over like the last year. And it seems like you're back on. You're in a really good place right now. Like, things are starting to happen again. And the Murphy Elmore that this town believed in and was like, "Hey, get your ass up here," is back.
I think, it was. I think we're just getting started.
Well, that's just it. Like, how does it feel to have gotten through that lull? Like, sometimes you got to go through and you got to grow up and learn from your experiences.
Right.
How does it feel right now?
Right now it feels great, man. Like, I'm sitting here, like the new song that's coming out, and I couldn't be more proud. When I got the master back, I don't think I've ever been as excited about a song, and then, we're already cutting. We're already in the studio. Like, I was working till almost 10 o'clock last night. We were working on some of these new songs, and it just feels good to be that excited and also that confident in what we're doing. And I think, just to be honest, like, and a lot of it's come from making those mistakes, right?
Yeah,
and
you have
learning.
To learn.
And
you gotta learn, man.
Like, I'm one of those people that apparently learns better. Like, when I succeed, it's because I failed 10 times before, but finally figured it. Like, I'm a stubborn person, but
same,
man.
And
same. Honestly, it comes down to also, like, it comes down to more than just me in the aspect of, I'm working with people that I'm fans of, whether it be as writers, whether it be as whatever the scenario is, but also, like, people that are truly believe in what I wanted and what I see and what my vision is for what I want this to be and what I have wanted this to be. That was always a fight before, but the team that, and the pieces that are coming together recently it's been like, here we go. Like, this is where we've been, like I said, there was a lot of mistakes and a lot of missteps along the way to get here, but honestly, it kind of where I feel like I'm at right now and what we're about to bring, and what we're about to be able to let people see, hear, and let people in on. I mean, personally speaking, I just think it's about to really shock some people. And I couldn't be more excited and proud and just thankful for the people, the people that are with me and that are also kind of helping guide me, but they're guiding me and helping. They're
offering their resources, and you're the brains. Like, they're there,
but they're also they trust, like, where I'm at and trust what where my head is.
More of a collaborative effort than what you had before.
And so now it's like, instead of, no, this is what we should do it this way, and at the time years ago, me just being like, oh, okay, well, if that's what you say, we should do it that way. I guess maybe I don't think that's the right way, but your job is to know that better than I do. That's not the approach with where we're at. It's more so, hey, I've got advice. This is what I can offer, but this is yours. Like, this is your lane, and we're here to help. Like, we're here to help. And and I think that's, a big part of what it is. Like, like you guys have a camp, like y'all's camp, right, is cohesive, if that makes sense. Like it builds upon builds. Like, it's a really strong camp. It's a really tight knit camp but everybody has the same goal.
Yeah.
Everybody has the same vision, the same goal, and that's what, I feel like I've had pieces of throughout. There's always been a piece of it. Like with Rhett, he was that piece, but there weren't those other pieces all working together. It was like this was, over here, and then there was all this other aspect of that world, but this part of that world was here. But when it starts all coming together and everybody is on the same page, it just is a different feeling. Like, man, I'm excited when even like social media, like I'm excited to post stuff. I'm excited.
Yeah, and social media is so huge, and I think right now it's going to give you like, and don't take this the wrong way, but it is like a second life right now.
Yeah,
it is.
It's become so huge
because you had your shit pop those years ago, and now you're getting a chance to really get back out there, do what you fucking want to do.
Right.
And now there's all these different things, because back then Vine was a thing, and you were around a lot of guys.
I was around a lot of the Vine people. I came in right at the death of Vine.
Yeah, you were. You saw what Taylor Ray did. You saw what Luke did.
Yeah,
you
but
saw
my
what
buddies,
Kane
like
did.
my friend, like, so I had two of my really good friends around that time. John and Luke, they had done crazy things on Vine, and that translated to when Instagram started popping off.
And now we've got this too word called TikTok, which is longer form Vine, and something that I don't understand. Obviously, I'm a big fan of it because it is.
I don't understand it either. I'm trying real hard.
It has changed my life tremendously. It's changed the lives of a lot of folks around me. But I feel like, and even now with Spotify, with the way playlisting works and this, that, and the other thing, if there's a time for an independent to pop and to really see growth and to be able to get fans in different markets, like part of the reason I think you were touring the Southeast so much is because that's all you really could do. It was hard to get someone from Omaha, Nebraska to know who the fuck Murphy Elmore is.
Right.
Now you got people listening from all over the world that know your songs. They don't just know the big one, because if they're listening to that, it's gonna jump to the other songs that you've got out, and it's gonna promote this new one that you've got coming. And I mean, man, I'm just really fucking excited for you, because I can just see this energy that's coming out right now. You've got a crew of co-writers that it seems like you're really like BD, Brian Davis, for example.
Yeah, and he produces. Like he's one of the ones that, like, was somebody I looked up to for a long time, and when I got to write with him for the first time, it was like a hard not to fangirl a little bit and be like, man, I'm getting to write with this guy, because I was such a fan of his as a writer.
I grew up listening to songs that this guy wrote.
Yeah, me
one
too.
Of those moments.
And then come to find out, like, on top of that, he's one of the best dudes, just nicest guys. But also just as somebody to look up to, man. And he's a big part of my team right now, and he's been there since, I basically was like, hey, this other stuff isn't working. We cut ties with,
back to the drawing board.
Like, I'm not doing what I even want to be doing in this industry.
One, it's not working, and two, I don't want to be doing it.
Right.
That's a tough place to be.
Right. And then and it wasn't about, I don't want to be doing music. Like, I love music. Like, it's there. Like, there's nothing that I want to do more than sing country music, play country music, write country music. And there's just nothing that compares to that for me. But there's something wrong when something that you're so passionate about becomes a negative feeling for a time. And then, so it was like you said, back to the drawing board. Brian came, we had written a couple songs together. We got along really well, and all that. But, he kind of was like, pitched the idea. He was like, man, what do you think about maybe me working with you, like, is from a producer standpoint? And I was such a fan of his. There was no business. I was like, yep, nope, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. So But we've released a few songs that I think 4 that he was a producer on, co-producer on, and I look back on those and I don't have any regrets whatsoever. But we found it. Like and it takes time, working with people but we just got to where, not that I'm very proud of the stuff that we've put out working together. But when I tell you I heard the master for this next song and then the roughs of the songs we're already working to get done to follow this next one, you find it like when it just clicks and he understands where I'm at perfectly. I understand, where he's at, and we have that just cohesion.
That's important.
And
man, it's
man,
everything.
I gotta tell you, I've been in this town for 7 years.
And he's been in this town double that time, if not longer.
He's been in town for a long time and he's been killing it. But I've had some really cool stuff happen while I've been here, but I can honestly say I've never been more excited about what I get to do and excited for people to get to hear what is about to, what's about to be going on.
Yeah.
Like I wake up, dude, I just wake up and I'm pumped up.
Yeah. Do you miss doing shows? As much as you were doing them,
dude.
Are we getting Murphy Elmore shows soon? Like, 100%. Will I be able to go somewhere? I mean, I probably won't because I'm out on the road doing the damn thing too. But like, will people get to experience a Murphy Elmore show again?
100%, man. That's
because that's something I want for you too. Is I want to see you out there doing your fucking thing,
dude. That's where
you're good.
Thanks, man. That's where that's my comfort zone is to be out there and to be on a stage. That's where I feel like it really comes together for me. And we had a decision to make, cause and I hate to even throw the word out, but COVID jacked a lot of stuff up as far as that we had on the books and even this year, which I thought was over. Like we had dates, that they ended up going, hey, it'd be this place or that place being like, hey, we don't know if we're going to be able to do this. So what we decided to do, or what I decided to do, was, all right, I want to be on the road. That's where I want to be. But while this is, I want to build what I'm excited about and make sure that
you want to be touring this new music.
I want to be touring this new music.
Yeah.
And so when we hit the road again, I want it to be like, I want to hit it hard. Like I want to be out wherever, whenever.
Where's a place that you've played that you're excited to go back? Where you're like, I can't wait for the go to this town, probably a college town, because be honest, those are a lot of fun. Where's the college town where you're like, I can't wait to go in there and let this new shit rip?
Man, that's a tough question. I'll be honest with you. I want to get back to Tuscaloosa, something fierce. That place will always hold a special place in my heart. Georgia, I love playing in Georgia.
Tifton,
South Carolina,
Statesboro,
man. South Carolina, I love South Carolina. Playing in South Carolina, Starkville. I want to go
Vegas.
Yeah, man, dude. There's so many places that I've gotten to play, whether it be as a headliner or as an opener. That the fan base is like, that's a really tough question, because honestly, there's so many places that people are awesome, man. Like,
do you get messages like, "Hey, when are you coming?" Like,
I do.
I'm sure
Florida's
a
big one.
I'm sure you've been getting those for years now, too.
Yeah,
Like you talk
absolutely.
about that kind of drop where you've got your own shit going on behind the scenes, where you're like, might not be the right time, and then COVID hits you in the midst of that. But I'm sure a lot of the diehard fans that I remember seeing at the Muscadine merch table, that I see at the Trey Lewis merch table, that are ride or die with a lot of the acts coming up at that time, like the Brandy Hewitts, the Lauren Farr, like those people.
Yeah.
They were supporting you those day
100%,
ones,
yeah.
and then you go back out there, they're gonna be there.
And
plus
for the
all these other
record,
folks.
like those people, like those types of people, are the reason that even when things weren't like when I was frustrated about not how things were going or because even when like in a crazy way, some at the time at our most, I guess, popular point for that song for whoever broke it, when it was like at its peak, like behind the scenes, I'm frustrated, like not frustrated with how that's going or frustrated with what we're doing out on the road, but just with some team placement and stuff like that. And there's two things that, because I think anybody in this town as an artist is being honest, or a songwriter is being honest. There are days, and I don't care how good things are going, there are days when you have to focus on your reasons for being here.
Yeah, you have to count them. You have to count them on your hand.
Yeah, and people like that, and the passion I have for it, but people like that are those ride or die fans.
Big Warren baby.
I can't let them I ain't letting them down.
Yeah,
like I don't
100%.
care, come hell or high water. I don't care if this takes me till I'm 40 years old. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to, because they don't have to believe in me. They don't have to go listen to my music. They don't have to support me and come out to these shows. They don't have to do all this stuff, right? They don't know, like they don't have any stake in me outside of them just supporting me. So I refuse to throw a hissy fit and be like, well, I had a bad day, I'm not doing any, or I had a malfunction with, the people around me or the circle that, as far as team, and it just, nothing, it wasn't perfect every single day. Like, so I'm done. Like, no, I refuse. So, and I think that's, you have to get that, like the people that last in this town are the people that get, like, sometimes you have to find those reasons. And that's still, even where I'm at right now, like being so excited, you couldn't get me out of this town or out of this industry right now with a tank. Like
Amen. Let's go. That's the attitude we're looking for.
You come with all you got, and I ain't moving.
Yeah.
But those people are still a part of that.
Yeah.
Those people are still a reason for that, even outside of.
So I got to wrap up with some questions right here. Wildest moment in Tifton, Georgia.
Oh man. I don't know if I can say one.
Yeah, you can. This is the In the Round podcast. You can say whatever the fuck you want.
I'm on stage, and
this is the Gin or Terminal?
This is Terminal. I'm on stage. There's a fight about to break out. There's boobs are out, which help save second base. We're here for the Tatas. But boobs are out on one side. There's a fight about to go on here, and there's a projectile vomit happening all simultaneously, all at different points in this crowd. And it was literally like, when you're playing and you're singing and you get lost in that moment. Like for me, at least, I get lost in that moment. But every now and then I crowd watch. Like I'm a people watcher too. And it was like, look left, fight about to break out. Look middle, titties. Look right, somebody is like like a bobblehead over there, and just boom. And I remember being in the middle of a song, and it was everything in me. I didn't know whether to laugh, cry. I didn't know what to do.
Whether to draw attention to it, whether to play
because there's
cool,
too much. There was just
nothing.
too much going on simultaneously. It was like they were on. It was like they were all on a time. Like everybody's alarm on their phone just went off. Like it's time, But I've seen some of that go on. I've seen all of those things happen, but simultaneously, like it was on a timer. I think that was.
The stars aligned for the
Tifton
shit
it was just
show.
like I mean, it was like somebody snapped their fingers and all these people reacted.
Yeah,
and I've seen bits and pieces of all that.
Yeah, shout out Tifton, Georgia. We love you, Sonny, and the crew there.
Terminal South.
It's a spot that has been a staple on this circuit forever. And another thing we got to ask
that's
you.
a rowdy group of people, man. I love it down there.
South Georgia, there ain't much to do but drink, fight, and fuck. So there's a reason that Tifton, Statesboro, and R.I.P. Valdosta.
There's a reason I can sell tickets down there. There's nothing. No, man. Those people genuinely they love country music, man, and they show up for people whether they know who they are or they just do, and they get rowdy.
They do. We're about to
folks.
be which you hooked old TL up with, and I guess me and Alex and McElwain over there too, with your buddy Rev,
the Red Rocket,
and the Red Rocket, which Red Rocket means something if you're a dog owner. Red Rocket in this case means something different. Talk about Rev, the bus driver. What do we have to look forward to? Because we're going out with him starting next week.
Well, first of all, I'm not fully sure he knows that's his nickname. So if somebody slips and calls him Rev, try to come up with an excuse of why. But I'm pretty sure that bus somehow teleports places because dudes drive like. He'll get you where you're going.
What's his actual name again?
Greg.
Yeah, Greg.
And
he's an Alabama boy as well.
He's an Alabama boy, and he's one of a kind. Let me tell you, that dude has got some stories, man. And don't worry, you're gonna hear them all. We're
probably gonna make some. We're with him for like a month, or he's with us for like a month.
Oh, you're gonna make some. He's good people, man. Like he's good people. But it's kind of like being on a roller coaster when you're awake on the Red Rocket. Like, I'll tell you this, so as you guys know, we were on the bill with y'all, like the Rock the South bill we were all on, and we left out, our bus call that morning was super early. I think we were wheels out by 6 a.m., so bus loaded, everybody on gear and crew, band crew all on bus by 6 a.m., wheels rolling. Because we were originally thinking we had to be sound checking, I think at 10, or load in was 10. And I was like, well, we need to be wheels rolling by 6 because we're in a bus and it takes me 3 hours to get towards that part of the world in my truck. So we're on I don't even know how big the buses are, but it's a full-on tour bus. Like, they're not breaking land speed records.
Yeah.
Unless Rev's driving. Because, dude, I'm not kidding you.
Is he a rumble strip guy?
Yeah, that's where Rev comes from.
Hey, let's go. I know some guys in our crew that are going to be very excited about that. I'm looking forward to that. Can't wait.
Yeah, I remember and this situation's happened a lot, but I remember that's an early morning for me, usually.
How is he with driving through the night? Because we've got him on some night drives.
He's going to get you there. Like, you're getting there, and you're going to get there way faster than you anticipated, but you're going to get there fine. Like, he's great, man. He's my favorite of all time.
That's what I'm saying. Like, overnight, like, if there's nobody else on the road, like, because I'm our driver in the van.
Unless you're woken up by, like, sounds, unless you're woken up by...
hitting the bunk.
Yeah, there's occasionally that, but, surprisingly, it's a pretty peaceful ride. And I don't know, something about, at this point, that sound of just puts
soothing.
me out. It's the sound of diesel and that. And
it's like sleeping, it's like growing up next to a train track.
But I got woke up to the bus stop and shortly after I'd fallen asleep, what seemed like shortly after. And I remember I looked at my phone because I was like, oh, we're here. That's why the bus is stopping. And I looked at my phone. It was 8 a.m. Like, on the dot, 8 a.m. I was like, oh, we must have stopped if like for fuel something. There's no way. But I decided to crawl out, get out of the bunk anyway. So I get out of the bunk and I had to piss. So I go to the front lounge, like the bathrooms and you got to go towards the front lounge, and I open the door. And I see the stage out of the front window of the bus. And we're already parked the whole 9. it's if I'm moving in my truck, that's a 2.5 hour drive. If I'm moving, we got a tour. My guy gets a tour bus there in 2 hours flat.
Yeah,
Like,
no, it's impressive.
just-
I'm excited to see because we've got some long drives coming up with him. So, so let's talk about this new song you got coming out.
Oh man,
it's called "Talk You Out."
Talk You Into Staying.
Talk you into staying, not talk you out of leaving.
Well, it's
but
kind
talk you into staying.
It's kind of about talking somebody out of clothes. So it kind of you're not far wrong, but it's called "Talk You Into Staying."
What Sweet Boy over here has to do at the bar every night, he has to talk them into staying by him, not leaving, and that's when he whips out the little hand and
that's
whips
where
down some Fireball.
Yeah, and there's chloroform on those little hands, so y'all just be careful with it.
I don't even think he knows where to get that shit. So, no. But who'd you write the song with? Tell us the story about it.
I wrote that song with Brian Davis and Mark Irwin.
Hell yeah.
And both of those dudes are some heavy hitter songwriters. But that was my first write with Mark Irwin ever, and I remember I had this idea that I thought was. I was like, this is a hit song idea, right? Like, I was so juiced up about it. And I get there, it was like a Monday or Tuesday, right? And I get there, and of course, I pitched that idea, right? I pitched the idea that I thought was this idea, and neither one of them responded really to it. They kept going like, yeah, what else we got? So I was like, well, dang. Now I'm starting to get nervous because I'm a huge Mark Irwin's got some, I mean, he's a monster, right?
Yeah.
Like, and Brian's a monster, but I've known Brian for so long, we've been friends for so long.
Yeah.
The intimidating aspect of that is not as much there because I know he knows, he's worked with me enough and we're boys. So, but this was my first time ever even semi kind of meeting Mark Irwin. I was at Brian's house. We were writing in his studio, but it had snowed and Mark was kind of snowed in, so he was writing on Zoom. But so I'm not nervous at first because I come in with what I think is a hit idea, and it just didn't respond.
So how do you get to the title?
So I want to say it was either Brian or it wasn't my title. I will say that. I know for sure. I can't remember if it was Brian or Mark that said, I got this idea, talk you into staying. But as soon as they said it, immediately it just starts shaping up in my mind. And then with those dudes on it, man, I think the song came together. It came together super quick. I think maybe like probably of strict actual time writing we have in it, maybe an hour or 45 minutes to an hour of actually putting it together. It just came like
awesome.
The picture just immediately was clear of what I wanted to say, and that's where we were all on the same page, and it just came together. And those dudes, like I said, they're monsters, man, both of them. And it was just such a smooth write. And it was, there's a lot of songs where you leave the room and you're like, man, I think we got a good one. That was one of the ones that I knew before we work taped it. I was like, I have to have this song. I want this song. I have to have this song. And so Brian did a demo, and we lived with it for a little while, just to be sure. Just to try to objectively make sure that it was still everything that we all thought it was the day we wrote it. And it just never, like, it kept standing up to every standard that we decided to put ourselves to where we feel like we should be and what we should be doing and releasing. And it's a higher standard, and it's one of the things I'm excited about for me personally, in my opinion, of some of, I shouldn't say some of the work in the past, but just to make sure that this is where I want to go, this is where it's going, and it stood up to it and stood up to it and stood up to it. So, and like I said, walking out of that was I have to have this song.
Oh yeah.
And
that's awesome.
So it's been it's been a fairly easy decision on this, and
the first of a few you got coming, right?
oh man,
That's awesome, dude. Hell yeah, man.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
stoked. Well, the song comes out.
There's about 2 albums worth that that are like, and that's not how we're gonna do. You know, we're gonna do some EP like singles and EP stuff, but there's probably, we're sitting on about 2 full albums of like catalog content that I'm
awesome.
as
That's
excited
awesome, man. Well,
about
I'm
as I am
proud of
with
you
this
and
one.
happy to see you doing what
Man,
you're
I
doing, bro.
appreciate that, man.
And super stuff. Where can people go to find you?
Anywhere and everywhere: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook pages, Spotify. I mean, you know, our music's on every digital platform: Spotify,
Oh, yeah.
Apple Music, Amazon, Pandora, all the ones that I probably might not even know about
Yeah,
off the
it's
top
just
of my
there.
head.
LimeWire, MySpace, Napster.
If we made it to MySpace, if we went back in time to MySpace, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be psyched. I don't know if that's even still like a running website.
I'm sure it's still out there, dude. But man, this was a pleasure to.
Dude,
have
I'm
you on
so
here,
stoked
dude.
y'all finally had me, man. I was telling McElwain earlier, I was like, you know, not to fangirl out too hard, but there's very like, I love podcasts when I love podcasts, right? But I'm for some reason unrightfully probably a very harsh critic of podcasts. So, but I was telling him, and it's the genuine truth. Like, I love watching this podcast and like listening. I was like,
Appreciate
you
that,
never
bro.
know. I love that it's. I feel like it's never just like, oh, this is what we're gonna say. This is how we're gonna say it. I feel like it's always natural and real.
That's what we
And
try to
I
do,
always,
man.
And I always end up cracking up, and so there's like 3 that I actually really focus on, and this is one of them. So I'm excited to finally get to
Fuck
be
yeah,
on
bro.
here,
And
man.
we'll get you on another round here soon, and
Oh
get you
man,
playing.
man.
Get you.
I'm gonna hold you to it, for
Dude,
sure.
no, absolutely, bro. No, man, I love having you and all that. So you guys make sure to check out our boy Murphy Elmore, the brand new single, Talk You Into Staying, co-written with the heavy hitters Mark Irwin and Brian Davis. BD also produces Mr. Murphy Elmore.
yeah,
Y'all be sure to check
monster.
him out. Pre-order the shit out of it, so these guys get some more money on iTunes, but also stream it. Tell your friends, tell your mama and them, all that good stuff. Big thanks to Murphy Elmore for joining us. Shout out to Sweet Boy helping us put this one together.
Sweet Boy.
Back there, ladies, he is single. He may or may not have chloroform on his little hand, but he is single. All you need to do to keep him breathing is Miller Lite and Fireball. He ain't an expensive date, ladies, you know? So shout out to Matt McElwain. Shout out to our sponsors, Saxman Studios, Grady Saxman, and the boys holding it down out there in Mount Juliet. Our boy Wales Tony, Whaletale Media, Wales, Beezy, Gracie, the whole crew over there. We love you, Wales. And then, of course, a guy that's working with Murphy Elmore, working with us, working with a number of people here in town, Mitch Wallace, the pride of Wetumpka, Alabama. He's got a new company called the Digital Marketing Agency, and if you're looking to grow your TikTok, your socials, hit up Mr. Mitch Wallace. Thank you guys for watching, listening, however you're taking in this podcast. Would really appreciate it if you like, subscribe, give us a rating. If you think it sucked, give us 1 star. Still better than nothing. And once again, my name is Matt Burrell. This has been the In the Round Podcast.
Woo.